Thank you for joining us for today's Small Business Development Series webinar. The Small Business Development Series webinar is provided by the district through a grant made possible through the Illinois Main Street program. We appreciate you tuning in and are eager to share a number of issues facing small businesses and entrepreneurs as we continue this series. Today, we are going to talk about credit card processing. Credit card processing is an essential for any business, just as a website or phone number is. Credit card processing has become a way that many clients are finding it easy to make payments. Making sure that you're accepting those payments is a key to whether or not that consumer will become your customer. If you don't accept check, and many clients don't carry cash, credit card processing is the only way to capture those sales. Today, we're going to talk about a number of issues regarding credit card processing. We're going to talk about online sales, terminals, mobile payments, and manual. At the end, we'll give you some tips and tricks for each and explain to you how you might be able to figure out which is best for your business. The first one we want to define is online. This is for sales that are occurring online. As we mentioned, accepting payments via credit card is just as essential as having a website. When it comes to websites, having some sort of e-commerce is becoming more and more prevalent and more of a necessity for a business, especially a retail-based business. Now, we'll have another webinar series episode coming up here talking about your business online. But for today, we're just going to focus on businesses that have some sort of online or e-commerce payment and how they can go about getting some of those processors. A few examples of those, and people have probably heard of a number of these, but PayPal is certainly the most prevalent. You've also got Amazon payments and Google Wallet. With each of these, but especially with PayPal, they give you a number of different options. We'll just talk about PayPal because they seem to be the most prevalent and the most popular. PayPal gives you a number of options as the business on how you want to utilize their service. Most businesses will take advantage of either the free or the pro version. The free version of their service allows your customer, to leave your site temporarily, to go to PayPal's, do their secure processing and their secure transaction, and then get redirected back to your site. So all of the processing happens on PayPal's site and not on yours. What this does is it really allows for PayPal to take on more of the risk with the transaction and alleviates that from the business. You pay a little bit more for this in your transaction fee, but you don't have the monthly reoccurring fees. With the Pro version, you do have the transactions occurring right there embedded in your website. You pay a little bit more per month and a little bit less per transaction, but that's the benefit of going pro versus free. Really, it's going to determine based on what's going to be best for your business, as with any of these. The version that most people are probably familiar with is the terminal. This is that machine next to the credit card or the point of sale system or next to the computer that most people will swipe the cards through. Some of them are the new ones that have the RFID and they can tap. You're also seeing people being able to pay with their mobile phones, but a number of those are still happening on a terminal type of processor. There's a number of different terminal processors out there. We're just going to talk about a few of the really prevalent ones. Flagship Merchant Services, Merchant Warehouse, and creditcardprocessing.com. The interesting thing about these types of processors is they are seeing the shifting trends of retail and other businesses and starting to make sure that they've got website portals and mobile payment apps so that their customers can access their services through those other venues. You've also got a growing number of businesses and users that are getting more and more comfortable with mobile payments. Mobile payments are through a tablet or a a mobile device. They're becoming more and more prevalent and really beneficial to businesses on the go. You do have to have an internet connection, so it's important to know that if you're planning on utilizing your phone's data package to process these, you've got to figure that into the equation because there may be increased data costs if you're not connected to a Wi-Fi device and you're utilizing your phone's data plan. That will increase the cost of what your total operational cost would be. A few examples of mobile processors that most of you are probably familiar with: Intuit Go Payment, Square, and PayPal here. Square has really tried to jump into the PayPal world where they've set up a Square store online and are really trying to get aggressive in allowing people to set up online payment solutions as well as those mobile payments. Something to think about though is how your customers want to interact with those mobile devices, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The last type of payment we're going to talk about is manual. These were the old triplicate forms. Some of them you had to write down the credit card number. Some of them you had to actually swipe the card through the machine and emboss it essentially onto the papers. This is a fairly outdated type of processing. It does still happen, but you're seeing more and more businesses get away from this. And a lot of that is for security reasons. I would never recommend that somebody who is going to accept credit cards do this just because of the security levels that are involved. When you do one of the other types of processing, whether it be mobile, website, or terminal, you only have access to the last four numbers of that person's account number. When you're running a manual, it's imperative that you have all 16 numbers of that person's credit card. What that does is it elevates your level of risk. So by having all of that extra risk, you have to take a lot more security precautions. You have to handle certain documents a certain way based on the credit card processing or the laws in your particular state or community. And so really this becomes a very cumbersome task. And if you're going to be accepting a number of mobile payments or a number of credit card payments, manual not only adds time but adds a lot of risk to your business, and it isn't something that I would recommend. So that gets us to the question of which one would you recommend? And really, you've got to ask yourself some questions. One is, where will you be taking payments? What type of business do you have? Are you a door-to-door business where you'll be collecting payments in your customers' homes? Do you have a brick and mortar store where your customers come to you? Or do you have a business that is strictly online? That will help narrow down your options, and from there you can make the best decision on which processor based on the type of payment. If you have all of these available to you, let's say you're a plumber who goes to people's stores, but you also have a brick and mortar location where a number of customers go, and you've set up online where people might be able to buy parts or pay you through their website. You've got a number of options available to you. So then that brings you to the what do your customers want? I've talked to a number of businesses that say that even though they might be able to get a better rate with a mobile payment, they've actually stuck with their terminal machine because their customers were accustomed to it and felt more comfortable providing their payment method that way. There's something about a mobile device that people think is not as secure as some of those others. Especially with certain clienteles or in certain communities, you're going to have to accommodate what your customers want, because ultimately that is what's going to be the biggest factor in your ability to collect sales. So then you need to do the math. A couple questions that you're going to need to ask yourself before you can do the math is the number of estimated transactions. How many times do you think you're going to ring that register each month or each day? And the number of total sales. Once you have both of these key pieces of information, you'll be able to do the math and figure out which is the absolute best deal for you. So in completing the math, usually with mobile and online, you've got a standard straight percentage. Some of these can range from the low 2% A pretty common percentage is 2.75 for a mobile payment and 2.9 for an online payment. But just like everything else, different providers will offer different rates. You've also got a monthly fee for a terminal. That's usually the rental of the fee. And a lot of times these will charge a transaction fee as well and additional percentage of the sale. Usually that percentage is far less, sometimes in the 1.5 or lower range. But when you add the monthly fees and the transaction fees, sometimes this can be more costly than a mobile or an online payment. And that's where you need to go back to knowing how many sales you're going to have and knowing what your total sales dollar figure is. That'll help you determine which is going to be the best method for you. So, a couple of tips and tricks. One is to negotiate. Just like everything else, these rates are negotiable. We all know that the bigger clients will get a better rate, but don't be hesitant to ask for that better rate. Just like everything else, these companies are vying for your business, so give them a reason to recruit you, so to speak. Talk to your local bank as well. Sometimes they may provide credit card processing that you're not aware of. They may also have deals that get you a better rate at a different processor than you were considering. Or they may have processors that work well with their system that they could recommend. And check back often. The last thing you want to do is get locked into a contract or be using a system that is outdated that you don't know you can get a better deal. So make sure that every 6 months to a year you're checking your options and making sure that you're putting your business in the best position to succeed. That's going to about do it for today. Again, my name is Travis Brown. I'm the Director of Business Development for Rokusek Design in Quincy. We're very happy to be a part and a partner of the district in providing this webinar series. We really want to thank the district for continuing to educate small business owners and entrepreneurs, and we want to thank the Illinois Main Street for the grant that made this webinar series possible. Thank you very much, and please continue to watch the Small Business Development Series as we add more and more educational opportunities.